us as a draft for an official vote. So I am absolutely a no vote on
And
this.
you're fine, that's
Yeah.
fine, that's.
No, I know, I'm good. So I feel like my questions have been asked, so I don't want to keep belaboring it, but I can pretty much put it out, no.
Okay, can I throw some comments in? Okay, well, two things, definitely. The first one, when I first heard that 5-day waiting period, just, I don't know, it to me it would stifle public input, but if anything, and almost do the opposite, I think, of what, what our goal is to encourage public input. Having a 5-day waiting period before you can speak to the board, I think that's kind of, for me, it would be a non-starter. It would be saying to the public that, if you hear something on a Monday night at dinner with friends and you want to voice your opinion the next day at the board meeting, that you literally have to wait till the next month and maybe the issue is then a non-issue. So to me, I don't see that what we have done here. Yes, we had a lot of people that came that day, and to me, I thought that was a good thing. It actually got people out and expressing their opinions and telling us the issues that they see from their perspective, and I think that's helpful for us as a board. And so the length of time that took to me was not an issue. So the second part about having a time limit, I think would be, to me, I just can't see why you would have a time limit. Even if you had 10 people that are going to say basically the same thing, which one has the right as a citizen of this community to voice that opinion and not somebody else? I mean, how do you make that decision? Well, we want you to say it, but everyone else, even that you're going to say basically the same thing. Part of public input is that the public gets to vent their frustrations about what is going on in the community. And to deny them that is just going to fester more discontent in the community. So to me, when I was in sales, if a person started to vent, you let them vent. You let them get it out. You let them get what is bothering them so you can get to the core issue of what is going to make them happy or what are their real concerns. And just to say, well, only one person is going to be able to say that really diminishes the purpose of, to me, public input. And that is that anybody, regardless of background or educational level or anything, can get up to that podium and tell us their perspective of our school district. And that is invaluable to me in making a decision. I wouldn't want to cut that.
Would you always want to have that at the beginning of the meeting?
No, I have no problem at all with having a
So it was just the amount.
It's just the idea that we would either eliminate the amount of time and or that we would say, well, these people on the green slips are all talking about exactly the same thing. They seem like they have the same perspective. So, and I don't know if that's in. I couldn't get my computer up here to get on the internet. So, but that idea of not letting everyone have input at a public meeting, I think, wow, that just scares me. Literally
As you said, we put everything in here.
Right, and I understand what you're saying, so I'm just telling you from over here on 1 of 9, this is how.
You're very lonely over there.
I know.
Well, I was wondering that too.
But, what I'm saying is I'm just giving you my 2 cents. So that's, I'm not, and I will not vote for it tonight also, just because to say yes is kind of like saying, yeah, we kind of agree with that. I'll wait till it kind of matures before.
So if the discussion, and I should shut up too much, we talk, but if the discussion is right away, as we know tonight, we want to strike something out.
If it's changed tonight, I don't know that you can. I thought that this is what we're voting on. But if you want to change it, but still, it's
I'll look down it too.
I don't want to be too much of a stickler on parliamentary rules, but if someone wants to make a friendly motion and allow for a change to the draft policy, that's okay with the rest of the board members. That's entirely appropriate.
And even if we do pass something tonight,
It
it's
would still be
up for
the
discussion and
essentially
maybe
the first reading for final consideration.
I kind of agree with Glenn. I'd kind of like to understand, I mean, you represent a lot of school districts, and I imagine that many of them follow the school board's association's recommendations. Do you know the history of why there's a 5-day advance notice and why they would want to cap public input?
I can't speak to why that particular item's been in place. I mean, if you look at policies, there was a time I worked at PSBA years ago. So that's been a sort of a decades long.
And it might have been one that we pulled from another district.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just to put this in context with the board and for those in the audience, PSBA, Pennsylvania School Boards Association, runs a policy service for districts where they develop, in some cases, model policies that they recommend for districts, and then there's options you can select. Another thing that they do for districts that participate is they also provide sample policies. Samples aren't necessarily the model policy, and so you may have received some samples and said, well, I like this, and I like this, and or hey, this is something worth discussion. But with regards to the notice requirement, I think the genesis of that is probably twofold. One is a public comment period. In order to qualify for that, technically, there's only two folks that can do that under the Sunshine Act. You have to be a taxpayer or you have to be a resident. So in some respects, and again, I'm speculating, some folks may have said, well, gee, this is a way to determine if someone is in fact eligible to address the board in sunshine session for public participation. The second thing I imagine is that some districts like to know how many folks might be coming out because, and I'm sure your district has done this and other clients that this has happened. If they know a lot of people are coming out publicly, they may switch to a larger room. They make sure they have suitable facilities for the public, and they're otherwise prepared to address this thing. I remember years ago, I had a district where we had a teacher strike. We had 500 people in a very crowded auditorium. Many people that wanted to speak to that issue. They had an advance notice thing, and that board decided to pare down the agenda that night because they knew that there were many people who wanted to talk on a very contentious issue in the community, and that was more important than some of the things on the agenda. So there may be a lot of motivations on the notice piece, but ultimately it's for the board to decide how much advance notice you could have. So whether it be 5 days or no days, or if you show up tonight, just like some, I guess these folks did, fill out a green slip. That's your prerogative, and those are the choices you can make.
One other tail end comment off of what you had said, if we know somebody is coming, we hope, and they have a problem with it, we will have talked to you ahead of time. We ourselves, and we look at everything, we talk about a committee meeting, but we can research it even harder that's the advantage too. And 5 days might be too terribly long, but that was just another advantage that we had discussed with management, that we have a chance to give it to our solicitor and say, hey.
That's another advantage if you know what the issue is. But again, that's the board's choice how much notice you would like.
I'm glad we're tapping into PSBA. I certainly is one of the main purposes of why we joined. Certainly, I think when I think of policy review, this one would have been number 1, number 2, or even 3 of our vision, but here it is. I personally would like to see what PSBA's recommended policy for public input would be. I know that we've had a year of long meetings, and I certainly don't like getting home as late as I have. However, I think that right now there's a lot going on, and I don't want to. I think publicly this looks like a retaliation to public input, and I think in a lot of respects we may be counteracting the whole point of what public input is. So, like I said, I mean, it's neither here nor there, but it certainly isn't the first policy I would have liked to look at with the PSBA. But if you do have the PSBA policy, I would definitely
And I'll come back again to, we're not, I don't care if I'm here till midnight. That's what we were elected for, and we'll stay as long as we need to listen to them. But we are a business, and we have to treat our agenda sometimes like it is a business. And what would you say to those lawyers that sat here?
I definitely agree that I don't have a problem at all with the agenda items straight up front and then an open session at the end. But I think everybody should be entitled to speak. I just feel like this has been thrown at us. I haven't had the time to research. I'm not opposed to it. Because you're right, we are a business, and I do, when I look out and I see the sweet little faces sitting out there and being ready to recognize for Student of the Month, and they're listening to all this public input and different things, certainly it is a different atmosphere than we would want to professionally portray. I just am not sure about the process of how this is here, and I just don't feel like I can support it yet. That's all I'm saying.
I think we can do better and be more efficient with our public input. I do not like the 5 days, and I do not like the 30 minutes, because I totally agree with Glenn. If somebody takes the time to come to one of our meetings, that they should be heard. I think 3 minutes is plenty of time to get across multiple points of importance, and I don't think I've heard any speakers in my time on the board that could have made their points in 3 minutes. And many of our public input are done in 3 minutes or less. So I don't see that as a problem either. So I don't know how we do it, the Robert Rules of Order, to propose eliminating the 5-day notice and the 30-minute time limit, but I would like to see those changes to this draft.
So what could we put in instead? So I'm handed 10 green notices here. At what point do you're an agenda, you're not an agenda, you're not. When do we decide? How do we decide how would that work?
And other districts you talk to.
I don't know.
So maybe the form could just say on it what they're going to talk about, but if there is linked to an agenda item, they have to list the agenda item as linked, then you can tell right away this is an agenda item. You can quickly look at it if the agenda item, but maybe have it 5 or 10 minutes prior to the start of the board meeting, or, we've been really, really lax, and to me, I've always kind of said like a kudos to the school board for having a more lax policy for public input, because I think it then encourages that. Yes, we had some major public input, but there are some major things going on, and it's not going to. I mean, if you look at every meeting that I've had in the last 4 years, not even on my finger or my hand am I going to have ones that a major change in policy is even, to me, warranted. So for myself, I would say just have it that if you want to have, if you have a lot, if it's 5 people talking, you have 5 slips, just do them all at once. And if it's a large number and you need to shift them to the end of the thing, I'm fine with that. I don't even think that we need to make a change on the 5 minutes. 5 minutes is 5 minutes. If most people speak and get their point across in 3 minutes, great. But at least gives those people that like to talk a little more or have more information. I just think it's a huge, we're turning the whole ship around because of a couple of times that it's been an issue. And I think it's like clubbing this thing, and it's a little hand, and you can kill it like that. You don't have to, it's like a little club, It's just like, to me, it's overkill. I guess is what I'm saying. I think a minimum change, or a minor change of having 2 times, one for the beginning, and if it's a non-agenda item towards the end, and just have the agenda item, they have to list what it is if they're going to speak prior, that they actually know what agenda item. If they don't know the agenda item, then they get thrown in the back, because that means they haven't done enough research. But I don't think that all these other changes to me are really necessary because it has not been an issue. Yes, when Brichette, that was an issue. It was an issue that really concerned the community, and they needed to let us know that. So that's the purpose of the thing. But I don't see all the other changes personally. I think just a minor tweak to what we have would make it streamlined and would take care of this without, because I can just imagine next week or next month, the public comment on this public comment is going to be, everybody's going to come out now because, it's almost like we want to swell the revolt. Okay, they're all going to come and they're going to complain about us, so let's narrow this down and have 5 days and we'll get them, we'll make it that is going to have the exact opposite effect of what we want. I'm just saying, just make a little tiny change. Just let it be before and after.
That's got a suggestion for you. I personally agree with David. I think 3 minutes is enough. Okay. However, we can make an editorial change on this tonight before we vote. And the way it's written right now, it says all individuals wishing to participate in a public board meeting shall register their intent with the board secretary at least 5 days in advance of the meeting and shall include their name and address of the participant. Topic could be addressed in group affiliation if applicable. Individuals may comment on agenda and non-agenda items when the agenda allows. What I'm going to propose is that all we do is strike at least 5 days in advance. In other words, it would read, shall register their intent with the board secretary in advance of the meeting, which is what we do right now.
Understanding agreement slip is in advance.
But they would have to list the agenda item that they wish to address or the non-agenda item which they wish to address, so that we can at least collate that prior to the start of the meeting to determine who speaks what. That would eliminate, the wording is the same, it serves the purpose that we're trying to accomplish, but it removes the time frame.
Does it also remove the time frame that how long they're allowed to? That's not the 3 minute thing. No, not the 3 minute thing. I'm talking about the 30 minutes. Is that going to be removed also?
Well, I think it really depends on. First of all, we have the option as a board. In other words, if I was king and I said this is what we're doing, I'm not so king because you guys have the ability to, under this policy, to stop me and vote to eliminate that portion for that evening. But if we have, a very lengthy agenda, as Sue says, that we have business things that we need to address, yes, we could determine that it's important to do that to limit the discussion so that we can address the business aspects. We may not want to do that, but we could do that if we needed to.
Are you talking in reference to the delegation of responsibility? If the board determines there's not sufficient time? Because I think you're talking about the 30-minute max,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, correct?
It sounds like you're talking, I'm sorry, Dr. Martel, but I was thinking you were talking about the delegation of responsibility. Because this was another item. If the board determines there's not sufficient time in the meeting for public comments, the comment period can be deferred to the next regular meeting or to a special meeting occurring The presiding officer at each shall follow the board policy, blah, blah. That I don't like.
I don't like that either. If they're here to speak at that night,
They should
That's
be
what I
granted
need
the
to see.
opportunity. That should all.
under which number were you on?
That's number 3, delegation of responsibility. And I think that's my reservation, just to make a couple, I think we have some majority thoughts here in the 5-day notification, but there's a lot in this bold. There's a lot of crossing out and a lot of bold additions that I just haven't had the chance to be able to step back and say, what is that really saying? Because right there, that's one thing we haven't discussed, but that's a huge issue.
Is it possible to readdress this in September and vote on it in October? to give us more time, especially for public input. I mean, I would be curious to see what their perception of this.
I really took to heart what was stated last month or June when, and I mean, hindsight 2020, I was very pleased that we had people call in so we all could weigh in on the vote. But in all honesty, the gentleman who spoke was factual in stating that we did not get to hear public comment before we did that vote.
And I said that was.
No, I know
my
that, and
mistake.
I think we all looked back on that and were very regretful. And I don't want to have that opportunity, that similar opportunity for voting on something without having the opportunity to hear in public.
And having said that, and I'm not making light of all of the comments, I'm not at all. The budget process had been open for a while.
But there were some good points that we had,
But
you know.
totally right, and I apologize right away as I realized what I had done. It was so hard trying to get the three of them, and I was way too focused
No,
on that.
And
And I screwed up.
we were all here, or on the phone. Didn't occur to any of us, so.
Okay, come back again, before I forget, when you said this isn't the policy that we are going to be, we are aligning with the SBA, that they are going to be reviewing all of our policies. This is a 900. We'd be lucky, do you know how long it would take? And that's one of the last ones. And you said you don't know if it's the first one you would have pulled out. This is one of the ones where I think we're farthest away from what school board policy is. So I can understand, I can appreciate you saying it's not the first one you would have pulled out. It would have been a long time till we would have seen this one. And I know, I'll go back to those two lawyers again. They're an important part of our community too. And it was just unfair. And you said about the kids sitting there too. I think they're pretty important too. So come back to you. The one that you said you would scratch is if board determines there's not sufficient time, or is it the one, the presiding officer? You're just looking at.
That, if the board determines there is not sufficient time, I think that whole paragraph.
Could just go away. But the following paragraph.
No, I think we have to maintain, I
Have to
do think
maintain.
we still need to maintain professional, ism, and if we get to the point where we're having a riot, or people speaking out, I think the presiding officer should have, just for the public so they know what we're talking about, the presiding officer shall follow board policy for conduct of public meetings. Where his or her ruling is disputed, it may be overruled by a majority of those board members present and voting.
Right, we definitely do want that back in, because in some of our good public input, there was one individual that stood up there and we all knew it was not the truth. It was, in my mind, it was almost slander, and probably half the audience out there knew it was not the truth either. And I probably should have shut the individual off, and I did not, and I regret that I did not. So I do feel we need that one in. Okay. So if we take out that paragraph, so that if the board determines that the 1, 2, 3, whatever, underneath 3, or the fourth paragraph in, if that were totally deleted, we want to wipe out on the second page on 2 of 4, down there we're listed 5 days in advance, strike the 5, because in advance means they can hand it to the board president right up until the meeting starts.
Strike at least.
We would strike out at least 5
days.
in advance. No,
No.
at least 5 days.
So the
No,
guy would be
board
board
secretary in advance.
of the meeting, and take another time.
And then on page 3 of 4, we're listed to 30 minutes. That a strike or key portion of the meeting during which public is invited to speak shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Strike that entire paragraph. I'm hearing more lead in the 3 minutes than take out the 3 minutes. Am I right or wrong?
I'm the timekeeper.
And I'm sitting here watching the time too,
And Dave is right, I'd say more than 90% of the people were done in 3 minutes or less. and those who spoke over 5 minutes are just the roast. So,
But-
I'm good.
But if it's not, but if it's 90%, so you got a couple people that want to speak 2 minutes longer, I just don't see why.
I invite you to come here and watch the timer sometime and be wholeheartedly thinking about what they're saying. And, you know, if somebody's talking for 5 minutes to me or somebody's talking 3 minutes to me, 3 minutes of good, productive conversation, I got it up here. When it starts getting to that 5, I'm losing what I think they're saying.
But
There were some
according
people,
to
there were
Dan,
some people
though,
that ran over, we just did not stop them.
and we could put some things in place to.
So, I mean, somebody's really cranking,
Yeah.
and probably looked like they're ready to sum up. We kind of let them roll for another 20, 30 seconds,
But what I'm saying, Sue, is from what Dan is saying, that only happens every 100 people, only 5 people, 5, 10 people, maybe go over 2 more minutes. So it's not like everyone is. I don't
So
know.
let's go
I guess I
on
could
to
compromise on this,
five.
but I'm just not seeing the reason for, like I said, the only change I think, other than, you know, maybe, I thought you had the right to step in if somebody was going, you know, or using foul language or whatever. I was assuming that was
I
already
think
part
for
of
the
it.
vast majority of people, it's not going to matter. But for those who are verbose, they're going to need to learn to cut their statement down, and therefore,
They're almost doing a disservice to themselves when they speak, when they go for 5 minutes, my opinion, because they're losing it.
There have been some people though that, I don't know, that I've heard, and I don't have.
Len, you need to come over here and watch the
So I don't
timer.
know the timer, but there are some people that I'm assuming probably went the time, but they had facts and they were going over stuff, and I felt it very beneficial. So, but I am willing.
Well, I'll respectfully disagree with you on
That's
that.
not a game changer for me as much as the other stuff.
Is there anything else in looking at this? Anyone underneath it?
How many public meetings that you go to that their policy is 3 minutes versus 5 minutes?
I have to speak anecdotally, I can't say I've looked at all 22 of our school clients' policies on this. I think a good chunk of them are in the 3-minute category. That's 5 different counties, but I haven't had any counties yet. And with that, because sometimes I'm stuck as being a timekeeper, I take a similar approach. It's not a hard and fast 3 minutes sometimes where you have to, for judgment, if someone can finish up, try to be liberal and allow people the opportunity to just not come up with it. So very politely remind them your time's up. So if you ask me off the top of my head, I'd say a lot of our clients, that's in Lancaster, Dauphin, York, Lebanon, Berks, I'd say in the 3-minute range.
And I'd like to direct you to the paragraph right underneath where it talks about limiting to 3 minutes. And I think this is another one that I've been even listening to y'all that we should be striking. In case of 2 or more persons, the presiding officer has a right to ask that just one representative act as the spokesman for the group. Thus, only the representative will be given the opportunity to be heard. We can scratch that one. One further down that I think we just need to clarify, it needs to be in here, but I think we need to clarify it. Electronic recording devices and cameras, in addition to those used as official recording devices, shall be permitted at public meetings under guidelines established by the board. And I know, well, it must be you, Dave, expressed the concern that perhaps a camera located there could be getting something off of your. And I would hope that whomever is, well, you just don't know, because if that appears online and what somebody could pull off of it. So I think we do need to, I think it would be too tough to designate it in here because depending where the room is, things might change. But we have to address that one in the future too, but not necessarily in policy. Is that what I kind of heard you say, that we're a little uncomfortable?
Well, my understanding is that even our current policy, there's a designated place for
There is.
sound, for recorders and cameras, and I don't think, if we're discussing items that the board has that aren't public things, and somebody have that up on their screen and a camera zooming in on that's not the appropriate place for that camera to be. It should be someplace else in the room. Plus, I'm more concerned that the back of my head is not my best side, so I prefer not to be.
I would love to move it, but there's no plugs out here, so that's not an issue. I'm the only one recording. So if I can run an extension cord from there to here, I would be more than happy to do it, but I have to set it up before the meeting starts as to not disrupt according to the sunshine law. So that's why it's over there.
And this is not a
No,
slam
it's fine.
slap or anything.
I would
Okay.
love to move it. I would love to get more to the back of your head. I'm not gonna lie. I'd like to get the kids to get up to speak, but there's no plugs along these walls.
Plug in one of these original.
I can pull it as long as that's fine, yeah, so that won't be an issue. That is the last time the back of your head will be on camera.
Thank you for that.
My agent thanks you.
Well,
Is there anything else?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that that jumps out at you right now that we haven't talked about that you might have found dissatisfying on here?
So review this whole thing again.
You got it in front of you, Dix?
And we're going to have two separate timeframes. The first one is agenda items that people can discuss.
Correct.
At the end, anything else that's not on the agenda that they have concerns about.
Correct.
3 minutes, but as many people can speak as want to speak. If there's 53 minutes, that's fine. And the camera's gonna go so she can get her good side, okay? And you have the right to interrupt anybody who's foul language or anything like that. Anything else that we missed?
There was a strike with the 5 days advance.
Right.
notice.
There was no advance. When you come out, you get put on your little green slip what the agenda item is.
I would clarify that there is an advance. They have to be at the beginning of the meeting.
Absolutely.
After the meeting is started,
You can't-
we'll accept
right,
all-
you can't-
there will be no longer slip.
Right. You know, if you come in 10 minutes late and now we're trying to hand in slips, okay, and we're into the thing, I agree with that.
And that does happen occasionally.
Or can we put those, if they come in after, then they're automatically, they're just sent to the back of the meeting? Because we can't determine whether they're an agenda item or not.
Right.
I know, I'm throwing a cog in the wheel there. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't have a problem with that. If they want to speak to us, they can speak to me all they want. That's fine. But I don't think they should get, you know, like we need to be shuffling things. That's automatically going to the second pile. That'll work. I'm in favor of it.
We've actually had a motion that's been seconded, and we've been in discussion, we've made editorial changes. Basically, Bonnie, you just reiterated what those changes are, or tentative draft. We have our committee meeting next month, and then we also have the board meeting next month that can actually change it that day. So I would propose that we vote on the tentative adoption, this as it's been amended.
There's a second.
That's the end of the discussion. But we're pretty much, if we're done discussing, we're pretty much at
second,
voting stage.
second.
Okay, and that's a motion, motion and a second for the amended stuff. Write that one down, Mary, stuff. Motion. Amy. Shouldn't be any further discussion, so I'm going to call for a roll call vote, please.
Martel,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler,
Yes.
Sell,
No.
Howe,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 no.
And I have two things. I don't remember what it was. Oh, can we please have this cleaned up version available for public inspection?
Also the PSBA,
Okay,
do you have that
For
I thought
you.
you said, yeah, I just would like to see it. I mean, I don't mind looking at it myself, but if someone has to just, that's great.
I would like to see this posted online.
That's
so
the
public can
document,
actually see
you see it?
Just check. I'll show you.
Okay, yeah, this is all new to me, I get to see it.
All right, thank you for that. Good discussion, and you have one more item under management.
Right, I was remiss in doing this. I believe there's some new people here that we just hired. If they could among yourselves to decide who wants to go first, if you could stand and tell us your name and a little bit about yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Jay Keck. I just got hired as both the elementary music teacher as well as hired to do tech integration as well for the district. I'm originally from Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. I live in Mechanicsburg right now with my wife. I was actually here as a long-term sub last fall for the middle school doing music. And I've also done some subbing and aid work for Mechanicsburg School District and West Shore School District in the last couple of years. Happy to be here.
I'm Katie Baumberger. I am originally from Granville, graduated from Northern Lebanon. I did my student teaching here. I was at Lickdale for a short-term job, and I was here last year, but at Fredericksburg for a long-term vacancy in second grade, and I've just been hired for fourth grade here at Lickdale. Right now I live in Lebanon with my husband and my 2 children, and I am very excited to be back at Lickdale again and very grateful for the opportunity.
Hi, my name is Jenny Upton. I will be the learning support and emotional support teacher at East Hanover Elementary School. I'm originally from Bucks County, but I just recently graduated from Pleasant Valley College, and I'm very excited to start here at Royal Lebanon. I did recently student teach with Mrs. Kathy Gary in Oakdale, so it was a great opportunity.
Michelle Cottingham. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I live in Lamar with my husband and 2 children. I'm hired as an instructional aide in East Hanover, taught preschool, and worked in other elementary schools.
Thank you very much. Welcome and buckle up. We're ready to start, huh?
And I believe that's it for management. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Martell. We're going to move on to Programs Committee. Director Sell.
I'd like to move item A.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler,
Yes.
Sal,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Martell,
Yes.
Warner.
Yes.
All in favor.
And I'd like to move item
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Bixler,
Yes.
Sal,
yes, sorry.
Howe,
Yes.
Martell,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
All in favor.
Any other comments, Amy?
That concludes programs.
And any other questions directed to the Programs Committee? Thanks. And we'll move on to Property and Service Committee, Director Gray.
Move item A.
Second.
Thanks, Dave.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Sal,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Martell,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Bixler.
Yes.
All in favor.
Any other comments that you have?
No.
All right, I've got one for you, but it's probably going to direct this way more. Once again, tonight, I had to go out of my way because the bridge is still closed. Will the Lickdale Bridge be open before the start of school?
My wife asked me that, and I don't know the answer, so.
We're not exactly sure yet either, so we're getting contingencies for all ends.
Because believe it or not, this body was tubing on Sunday, and I'm underneath that bridge, and I'm looking up, and I thought, oh, Lord have mercy on us, please be finished. So we just have plans, huh? So the plan, the cards that go out to each elementary student, advising them of where their bus, pickup, stop, and all that kind of good stuff.
If it's not done, we're gonna have to redo it and contact those people.
So
The bridge is not done.
So the card is going out, assuming the bridge is not finished?
I'll have to check with Matt to confirm, but that's what my initial thought was.
Okay, and then we'll jump up and down for joy if it gets done, and then we'll spend more money and send out more cards because we gotta do it. Okay. Any other comments or questions for Director Gray? If not, let's move on to the superintendent's report.
You have 4 brief items. District enrollment figures, and that changes obviously this time of year on a daily basis. Welcome back letter from me that went out to the district staff that signifies the total end of summer. The 15-16 focus goals, as well as the most recent school intervention grant approval from PDE.
Any questions for Dr. Bell specifically to his superintendent's report? Or any other questions you'd like answered at this time? Not, we'll move on to the reports of representatives, starting with Dr. Martell, Career and Tech. Sir?
As here, we actually met here last month, but Career and Technology did not. We start again next week for our meetings for the school year. We do remain in negotiations there also, and we're tentatively trying to get dates set up to continue that. That's it.
And as for the IU13, we did not meet in July. Our meeting is tomorrow night, thankfully in Lebanon. And we still do not have a contract, though it hasn't expired yet, for our classified staff. I did send something today just so you get a better feel of some of the things that goes on that the IU13 puts on services, how they service our children and some of our adults. I hope you take time to read that. I continue to send you reports from Dr. Brian Barnhart. I think they're very timely and well stated and easy to understand about how the budget is not progressing, reasons for it, things that are going on behind the doors so that we get an idea. But as of right now, or maybe we'll say that, no, Steve's not here. We have no idea on this budget at all what's happening. So. Any questions? Not, Rachel will be our HAC representative, but there has not been a meeting yet that I know of. Moving on to EIT, TCC, Dave.
No report.
Legislative, Steve is not here. Does anybody have any comments legislatively? And I hope you're all taking the time to read. I hope you're all taking the time to read the information that PSBA puts out. And like I said, you're going to get something almost every day. Some of it is really good stuff. Some of it you kind of get sick and tired of reading about it. But really good articles on the PSSA right now and how schools are reacting. Budget, Keystone. So I ask that, and be an informed board, please be reading the stuff that they're sending out. Amy, on to the rec commission.
You have the minutes from the July meeting. The next meeting is next Monday, middle school at 6:30. Since the last meeting, the big event, of course, was National Night Out. So on behalf of Suzanne and the rec commission, I definitely want to thank the board's support for recognizing that important night to bring the community together. That there was a large presence of people from the board